And so our long-term goal is to make Mountain Readiness a place that people cannot they can come and learn, not just rely on what they watch on TikTok. All right, because some of the stuff that's out there on social media, it's dangerous. Some of these canning things that we see, I mean, people doing crazy stuff that'll get you killed. We want to bring uh trained experts in the field who are living it to the people to help them grow and to bring that tribal knowledge back to them. We look forward to seeing you guys there, of course, May 5th, 6th, and 7th, Mountain Readiness. You guys are going to be there for the whole event, teaching a couple classes a day. And I hope everybody comes to see you guys and see everybody else. I think it's going to be a great venue. There is something for everyone, no matter what your walk of life is.
Yeah, so why don't you tell us about what the expo is about and well, before that, what inspired you to start this? What drove you? Why did you decide to do this? This is obviously a big undertaking.
Most definitely, huge undertaking. And of course, we missed the boat on a lot of sponsorships or most sponsorships. And when I say most, I mean all sponsorships for this year. So self-funded, everything. This started my wife, Amber, and I, our journey in the world of prepping and self-sufficiency and homesteading. We traveled around and went to a lot of the different events, and we bought the books, and we would get home and we would read the books, and we'd kind of find ourselves in the same spot that we were before we went to the event.
Yeah.
And we said, why don't we start something that is more hands-on based, and give people the opportunity to start delving into those lost arts of our forefathers, to where they actually get their hands in there and get dirty. And a lot of these events, nothing against them, the hands-on approach is not as much. It's more, let's watch a PowerPoint, let's watch something on a screen. We've got people that are going to be butchering hogs, butchering chickens. We've got hands-on log cabin building classes. And the other side of this was Mountain Readiness. We wanted to focus on all aspects of survival. So hands-on, Mountain Readiness, we wanted to start this with the intent of bringing all aspects of survival and prepping and homesteading together. Because most generally you'll see it's either a homesteader's event, it's a prepper's event, it's a survivalist bushcrafting event.
Yep.
We wanted, and yes, we were told, oh no, you can't mix them. Well, I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
I think that if you're prepping, you're homesteading. If you're homesteading, you're also prepping. It all runs hand in hand. You're still you're canning, you're working the ground, you're stockpiling. I mean, you can call it whatever you want to. Homesteading is still prepping.
Yeah.
The tactical side of things, yes, people frown on the guns. Some do, even within the prepping communities and stuff like that. I want options. I want people to come to an event and be able to pick and choose what they see and have all the varieties. I don't just want to focus on one area. I want to focus on all areas of the spectrum.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. Not only should people blend, I mean, it's a necessity, that you have to have all those components if you're going to be serious about being prepared. Otherwise, you end up with these large gaps.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
That's the thing is that you can't have one without the other, because if you do, you're setting yourself up for failure in the worst case scenario was to happen. If you're just a homesteader and you don't go with homestead defense and those type of things, well, under the circumstances of, even if it is a natural disaster or wide world pandemic, whatever it may be, someone's going to come for what you've got.
Yep.
If you can't defend yourself, then your work was in vain, right? You did all that work for nothing. So that we need to delve into all aspects of of that lifestyle. The same as our forefathers. It was normal. You know, you were out in the
Yeah.
middle of nowhere. You were fighting the elements. You were fighting the wildlife. You know, you were hunting. You were fishing. You were canning. You were all those things that. Uh, my thing is think about this, Gil. 100 year, the Great Depression, for
Mhm.
instance, what was that, 29 to 41, 10-year span, 10-year span. um Imagine if we were to have that same scenario right now, today. This computer screen goes blank, everything hits the fan, it's done. How many people could survive for 10 years starting today? It's not happening.
Oh no.
People are not ready. Our forefathers, they had gardens, they had chickens, they had all that set up. They were already survivalists. You know, yeah, they went to town to get some flour and sugar, but at the end of the day, they were self-sufficient. And
Yep. This
that's
is just the way of
why
life.
mountain readiness, we want that same thing. We want people to get back to the basics, get back to what our ancestors were doing. It's a way of life. Get back to that way of life.
Yep. Yep. So what do you what's your I guess we've kind of answered that, but my next question was going to be the long-term goal. After we hit this initial um event, 5, 10 years down the road, how where are you trying to take it? How big are you trying to take this?
Oh, I've always been, Amber and I have always been extremists when it comes to when we start something, we try to take it as far as we can take it. My goal is we're very passionate about this. Um, and we understand the hardships of setting up this type of lifestyle, right? We're no by no means are we experts. We are by no I've not been on Alone, Naked and Afraid. I've done nothing awesome on
Yeah.
television with survival. I'm not a tactical expert. We've been in North Carolina now for 8 years, and this 8 years we just now got our fruit orchard planted this year. It took 8 years of clearing timber and fighting the elements and working and just sleepless nights and early mornings. It's a huge undertaking, and I think people, when if they're not familiar with anything of prepping and homesteading, they watch some YouTube videos. Nothing against it, but if that's all you have, and they say, oh, yeah, I want to do that. And I'm guilty of it too, right? I mean, I grew up doing a lot of this, but I came here with these ambitions of oh yeah, year one, I'm going to get everything cleared and it's going to be done. And then year
Yeah.
two, I want to have the garden and a greenhouse and,
Yep.
a fortified. No, it doesn't happen that way. And so our long-term goal is to make mountain readiness a place that people they can come and learn, not just rely on what they watch on TikTok. All right. Because some of the stuff that's out there on social media, it's dangerous. Some of these canning things that we see, I mean, people doing crazy stuff that'll get you killed. We want to bring uh, trained experts in the field who are living it to the people to help them grow and to bring that tribal knowledge back to them.
Yep. Yeah, it's interesting because in a lot of ways, you and I and strategic prepper and mountain readiness, we have kind of came out of the same place with the same goals. So we started, oh gosh, over 10 years ago, maybe roughly 10 years ago. Was it, we're in 23, so let's say, yeah, about 10 years ago. Um, and yeah, we started along the same path, basically going on YouTube, building a bug out bag and whatnot. And as we've grown, that's what we've noticed is people tend to be, I am heavy in the tactical stuff. Like I got a lot of guns, or I grow a garden, but I don't really have guns. Or you got a lot of people, their idea of prepping is being a bushcrafter, and so yeah, you've got a lot of these people that have these niches, but they leave these really wide gaps. And For us being in the risk management and safety world, when you work in these high hazard industries where an incident could cost millions of dollars or kill people, um, you can't just throw solutions against the wall and hope they stick. That's not going to work. You've got to have there's a science to it. You got to have
Yeah.
a documented process. How do we figure out what the hazards are, and how do we figure out how we're going to handle them in such a way that we're not wasting resources and we're not leaving any major gaps, And so, and that's where we decided to build the
Most definitely.
channel. Yeah, and especially COVID really showed us that, because we're following these big YouTube channels, and a lot of these YouTube channels would make videos. This is what, so 2020, so mid 2020, and they'd make these videos saying, 10 things I messed up in COVID, or these 3 things I learned I didn't have correctly during COVID, or and not to brag, but this is just explaining where we came from. My dad and I would watch these videos, and we're like, no, we had that. No, we had that. That wasn't a problem. That wasn't a problem. That wasn't a
Right.
problem. And especially as more things unfolded that year, our system was able to absorb all these changes, and we weren't really left with any major hiccups. We started helping people we knew
Right.
get into the get into to being prepared, and it was the same thing. They would go on YouTube, they try to watch videos, but they came away without really a clear plan on what they're supposed to. They didn't know what to do, and so that was the goal of strategic
Right.
preppers. All right, we know how to train people to do this because this is what we do professionally at work. And we know how to create these programs. So let's make a YouTube channel, turn that into a consulting company. Um, so yeah, that's kind of where we came
I
from.
think
So
it's and that's what you're going to be doing there at Mountain Readiness too, correct?
yes,
Is one of your classes?
so yeah, we'll be teaching 2 classes. One of them will be teaching people basically our journey, and it's just to illustrate exactly what you're talking about. We went from living in the
Right.
suburbs, normal home, normal goal that people have living in the suburbs, right? Um, Decided to start prepping. Our first action was we went to Walmart, built bug out backs, right? And then we went from there. And then yeah, the progression of eventually we made it out into the country. We both bought multiple acres, and on our YouTube channel, you could see the journey of both of us developing our property, especially on my dad's, because his was
Right.
complete wilderness. It was undeveloped, and so he was able to clear a certain amount and plant there. And mine was already, um, someone had been living there, so but that is to show people because when you're new, you might have an idea of where you want to go, but sometimes you just need someone to show you that first that you can do it, and second to show you how they did it, and then you can start putting together those puzzle pieces. But for a lot of people,
Right.
they've never seen it. They know where they want to be, but they may not have any idea how to get there. And then the second one is teaching people that the risk analysis hazard assessment process. You got
Right.
to figure out where you want to go first before you can get there. And then this is how you put together a plan to where you're not wasting
Well,
time, you're not wasting resources.
and setting realistic goals. I think
Yep.
I'm sure you guys, from what I've seen and watched with you guys, is setting realistic goals is a very important part of this type of lifestyle, right? Because you can set yourself up, and I know, and and your father knows, and many people know there is those times where you have those unrealistic
Oh yeah.
goals. You're like, and I'm going to kill it this year. We got this, and then at the end of the year, you bummed. And I've had those bummed year. I'm like, oh man, that did not work out at all like
Yeah.
I had anticipated it to. I think just the journey that you guys have had and that we've had, you talking about that, I think really helps people to bring in perspective. One, um, all of us are going to have issues along
Hmm.
this path. It doesn't matter. You're going to run into roadblocks. You're going to have to take plan Bs, but it's good to hear that you're not alone in it and that there's other people that have had the same struggle too.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the goals because this is a second full growing season at the property. So I've been there about 2.5 years. But every year I don't accomplish the goals. I have this idea of what I can get done in the spring and planting season.
Right?
I never have enough time, and so I'm always left over with things that didn't work out. Our first growing season, so I planted corn, like 150 corn seeds. I planted a bunch of potatoes. I planted sweet potatoes, peanuts, strawberry. I planted a bunch of stuff. Almost all of my crops failed. I got some potatoes. My pepper plants did really well. And I got a few strawberries.
Right.
Everything else completely failed. And the weeds, we got videos midsummer last year. By midsummer, the weeds over. I mean, it was complete fail. And this is, I
Right.
think we ended up making a video about saving seeds. You got people in the prepper community. Well, I've
Oh
got
yeah.
6 months of foods in the seed bank, and if the balloon goes up, I'll just start planting seeds, and that's not going to work. It's not how this works. That's not going to work, and you're going
No,
to go through the process we did, where your first harvest potentially you get nothing, or you're going to run into these problems. So, like you said,
that's it.
it's a lifestyle, and if you want to be at that high that top echelon of preparedness, you need to already be living that. That's
Oh
yeah.
yes, oh yes, and setting those realistic goals and sticking to them and fighting through them because it is a struggle. I remember our first year here in North Carolina. I My wife is born and raised there in Indiana. I ended up in Indiana for about 21 years. Stayed there with a job and decided, my first part of my life was my father was pretty adventurous. So we lived in the middle of nowhere all the time. If he saw smoke, it was time to move. Um, all the way up until I was 15 when I left home, we literally, we lived in tents and campers and backs of trucks, cooked on campfire, wood stove, hunt, fish. Um, and by the time I was 17, I had moved to Indiana, and that was the 79th time I'd moved in 36 states.
Dang.
So, and I've moved a couple times since then. So, my life started like that, and I was like, man, I need to get out of the country and the boondocks and see the world because the big cities is where it's at
Mhm.
because I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
And so I ended up living in Chicago and Detroit and all these different big cities and I spent the next 20 years trying to get back to the country because I realized that it was crap and if I didn't get out of the cities we were going to end up dying,
Yeah.
so we made that move 8 years ago here to North Carolina, right out here off the Blue Ridge Parkway. And we had a really good garden. We were actually even fighting the city in Indiana. We had a double lot at our house that we had right in the middle of town, and we had planted a really big garden. It was gorgeous garden too. I mean, we had a great garden going on, and the city was coming in and trying to fine us because they were saying we had as varmints. The varmints it was a pest issue, so we needed to get rid of our garden. So we fought back and forth with the city over this for a year. And that's when I told my wife, I said, Amber, let's just pack it up and let's just sell everything and go. And everybody told us we were nuts.
Yeah.
And I said we may be nuts, but I don't care if I have to hand out smiley face stickers at Wally World. I'm going. I'm not living here anymore. We're going to go someplace where we can do as we please and be self sufficient. Year one, man, it was brutal. It was horrible. Uh, we brought a bunch of plants down with us. We literally loaded up plants in the truck, drove them across 5 states. We planted them, had a little garden here. Come out like 2 days later, the deer and the animals had
Oh,
just
yeah.
taken it out. I mean, ate
Yeah.
everything. There was nothing left but one little black diamond melon. And I was like, so I babied and nurtured this melon. And then about a week later, I seen a deer with his foot standing in it. He had crushed it and he nibbled a few out, and then he just walks off. I was like, and that was the beginning. That was the beginning of our journey of self sufficiency, and that was kind of the start of wanting to do something more to help people because there are some discouraging moments that you will see.
Yeah.
There there's no as well as I do that there's only two ways you can get to this point of being completely self-sufficient. It's either work nonstop as hard as you can, or you win the lottery and you can just pay somebody else to do
Yeah.
it. You
Yep.
know, and I'm not, and I don't think I'm going to win the lottery. It's just not probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
So
It's funny. I've had that thought too. It's like, man, if I just won the lottery, things would be so much.
oh,
I just, yeah, I could buy all
oh
the
yeah,
equipment and pay
no,
people, and you know,
hit me
um,
a couple $1 million, I will show. I mean, I will be set up. A couple $1 million, I
yeah,
can do it. But unfortunately, most of us, it's we've got to fight tooth and nail for everything, and it's just the nature of the beast. It's survival of the fittest on every level. But that was kind of our focus for Mountain Readiness. We wanted to show people that you know everyone's human. I don't care who it is. You take your pick. The big stars all the way down to us.
hmm,
You're going to have a struggle. So um, but no, that's in a nutshell. That's what we're shooting for.
yeah. No, that's good. I'm looking forward to it. When I'd heard about it, Chris had given me information, and I went on the website. It's pretty exciting because yeah, there is a big lack of that in
It
the
is.
industry, if you want to call it that. And so,
It
um,
is. It is.
yeah, and I'm
I
looking.
think,
You go ahead.
hey, we're looking forward to having you guys too. I mean, we just want to bring everybody that we can into this and grow this to as big as we can possibly get it because at the end of the day, to us, this is life or death. It really is when it
Hmm.
comes down to it. I with the current administration and the things going in the world, I don't see how it can possibly get any better.
Yeah,
I think the world is on a downhill spiral. I don't want to be all doom and gloom about it, but if you think that we're going towards a better America, you evidently are not keeping up with anything of
yeah,
current events. Um, and it is going to take well rounded people to make it with where we are heading.
yeah,
And when I say well-rounded people, I mean you better have all of your ducks in a row, right? Everybody with the bank crisis is going on right now. I got my opinion on that, to be completely honest, is should you leave your money in the banks? Probably not. I mean, I've got money in the bank. Should I take out? But at the end of the day, what is money? It's pieces of paper with dead people on it. All
yep,
right. When it comes down to it, it's not going to be how much money you got. We've already seen what hyperinflation does to money throughout the course of history. So you can have all the big stacks of bills laying up there in your house that you want to. At the end of the day, it's not going to be how much pieces of paper you have. It's going to be how much material items do you have? Do you have the proper equipment, hand tools? Do you
oh
have
yeah,
ammunition? Do you have stored seeds? Do you have your livestock in order? It's going to be about what you have. It won't be about what you can buy, because I don't think you're going to be able to buy a whole lot when it's all said and done.
oh yeah. That lately, yeah, we've definitely been prioritizing that. Whereas before, maybe 10 years ago, I might have prioritized having a larger savings account, right, for stuff. But now
Right.
yeah, that money, a lot of that I'd rather convert to hard assets because I may not be able to buy it 5 years from now. I may not be able to
That
buy it next
is
year. I may not be able to buy it. Um,
exactly.
yep. And going out and taking
And
training classes. I may not get that knowledge from
exactly.
people. I get it now because once it's in my head, I've got it. And once I start using it, I've got it. But yeah, who knows the way the economy might be next year, the year after, the year after that, where I can't just go travel and learn something from somebody.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Well, look at the craziness. Uh, there's no doubt that having savings is good. I get it. But look, my 401k and my IRA, it ain't doing that hot.
yeah,
Okay, so it's not like it's just hand over fist making me money. Um, and yes, it's kind of a necessity. Yes, you don't just quit living because I'm
yeah,
going to keep living, right? I'm going
oh
to
yeah,
keep living, but prioritizing is of the utmost when it comes to. I mean, we're just getting to the time in the world where just the money side of it alone, with eggs, with poultry, I mean, the prices to live uh, have almost doubled, in my
oh
opinion.
yeah, it's going way up.
I mean, it's insane. You go to the grocery store and you walk out of You walk out with three bags of groceries and you done spent $400. I mean, it's insane.
Well, and not to
Um,
mention what they're doing, the policies that they're enacting are going to drive energy prices up, you know,
oh yeah,
and to heat your home, to run your vehicle, and they want to tax the mileage you drive in the vehicle. Um,
yes,
yeah, no matter what metric you look at, the economy, societal development, because societies go through this cycle for thousands of years. We're not unique in that way, But whatever metric you look at, and if you start looking, experts in these economists, historians, people who study art, whatever metric you look at, they're looking at the U.S. and they're coming to the same conclusion.
right,
We're on a
right.
downhill trend, and it's not recoverable. You know.
No, and history repeats itself. It's not the
Mhm.
first time we've been here. Maybe it'll be the last. Who knows? But
Yeah.
I think we as Americans, I hate to say it, but we're a little bit on the spoiled side. I am
Yeah.
no different. I grew up without electricity and running water. Um, bathing in spring-fed creeks and stuff like that, cooking on campfire. And I've gotten a little soft. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I have over the years. It's nice to walk over and flip a switch and the light comes
Yep.
on and the light goes off and turn the faucet on and off instead of have to backpack it with, 10-gallon military jugs up a hill. But, you know, if you think it can't happen in America and it only happens in third world countries, you're horribly mistaken. All
Yep.
right. It is happening. This is how it starts. Um, it's just a matter of time. Now it's not if, it's when.
Yep.
So, that's I think that's the number one thing to look at here is and why we've tried to bring everybody to this to the expo with Mount Readiness is bushcrafting is great to know. Hey man, I like doing friction
Mhm.
fires. Okay. Do I pick a lighter over a bow
Oh yeah.
drill? Most definitely,
Yep.
every single time.
Yep.
Am I going to make a spear versus my 5.56? Nope. I'll pick the 5.56 first. But it's being you got to be well rounded. If you want
Yep.
to do this as a lifestyle, you got to be good on the tactics. You got to be good on the homesteading. You got to be
Yep.
good with the bushcrafting. It's everything combined. Don't you got to take those blinders off. This
Yeah.
is for horses. This is for horses. It's not for people.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
got to take them off
You got to be adaptable, and that's who survives is the people that adapt. You know.
for sure. For sure. We look forward to seeing you guys there. Of course, May 5th, 6th, and 7th, Mountain
Mhm.
Readiness. You guys are going to be there for the whole event, teaching a couple classes a day. And I hope everybody comes to see you guys and see everybody else. I think it's going to be a great venue. There is something for everyone, no matter what your walk of life is.